Well, here we are once again in my kitchen in Pahrump, Nevada, and today I'm going to do another cooking show on a demonstration between a cheap ceramic pan that my friend Gary bought and the Gotham Steel ceramic pan that my wife bought. I already did a video on the Gotham pan, so this morning will be a demonstration between the two as to what the new one is like. And I want to thank Gary for letting me use his pan, and he promised me that if I damage it, he'll just take it back to Walmart. So anyway, today that's what we're going to do, and in just a minute I'll be at the stove. By the way, I want to mention I have an electric cook stove. It is a glass top. It's like instantaneous heat. It's very similar to what you might get from a gas stove. The only difference is that when you turn off the heat on the stove, when it's electric, the heat remains for a period of time. So before you actually finish cooking, it's a good idea to turn off your electric stove, save a little energy, and you'll still get the same result. So with that, we're off to the races, folks. Well, this morning I'm going to be making breakfast for the wife and me, and the wife and I, or however you want to put it. And one of my friends, Gary Vavzicki, came up with a fry pan that he wanted me to test. Now, in a previous video, we had run a test on our Gotham Steel ceramic pan, which was supposed to be non-stick. Well, you can see that it's not quite the non-stick that they promised. So in this particular video, what we're going to do is we're going to try this other pan and see how that works. The original pan that we used with the Gotham Steel, they claimed it was non-stick, didn't say I had to do anything to it, and you can see what it looked like. So this particular pan was bought by Gary at the local Walmart, and I had suggested one that was $21. It's a ceramic pan, and Gary, in his inimitable wisdom, picked a pan that was $10.99. So before I start this, I'm going to read the instructions. And the first thing the instructions said was, don't start the pan on high heat because it'll warp the pan. And in reality, that is exactly what happened on all of the pans I have. They've all warped on the bottom so that they're kind of rounded. So in Gary's pan, I am not going to do that. I'm going to turn on my electric cooktop, and I put it on number 8. There are 10 numbers, and I put it on number 8. And I thought I would read the instructions so that I can be sure what to do. So it says to preheat the pan in medium heat for 3 to 5 minutes. Do not preheat on high setting. This pan and coating heats up very quickly and needs less heat than other older style pans. It's best not to keep the heat higher than necessary for long periods of time. Wow, this is really getting to be quite the challenge. I usually just throw the pan on there and start cooking. And it says it also has an aluminum base that provides this very quick and even heat. Then it says do not allow the pan to boil dry. Not only is that dangerous for your home, but also may permanently damage the ceramic cooking surface. Good thing to know. When it's time to clean it, all you have to do is basically wash it, wipe it out, as you just tried to do with the Gotham Steel pan. So it says here, do not use any abrasive substances such as chemical or mineral cleaners. Do not use harsh or rough material to clean. Do not use scouring pads or steel wool unless they are specifically made for ceramic coated pans. Make sure a pan is clean and dry before storing away. Okay, so this is the ceramic pan. Boy, this is fun. This is the ceramic pan that we're using. So I have turned on the heat for a short period of time here to let the pan warm up. And I'm going to use butter to cook this morning. I like butter because it has a tendency sometimes to brown up nice, and it has a tendency to feel more greasy is the best way I can describe it. And I like that because I don't have to use as much to get the same effect as if I used olive oil or something else. So what I'm going to do now, you can see the pan is warming up because there's a bit of melting on the butter. So let's get a little closer into the pan here so you can see. Okay. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do, oh, by the way, this pan also has a ceramic handle, and they don't recommend cooking with this handle in the oven. And the Gotham steel pan, which was twice the cost, has a steel handle, which means you can put it in the oven to cook. So you can see the butter's now kind of gotten here. It is one of my favorite breakfasts, by the way. I have several favorites, and I like to make things in advance, so when I go to cook breakfast, it's a little easier and quicker. And so I'm going to stick the egg in there. This is 2 eggs because my wife and I are going to share breakfast this morning. And one of the things about cooking in this pan that was a little annoying was that the stuff is so slick that if I just use one utensil, the stuff slides all over the bottom, as opposed to my other experience with the Teflon pans. You can kind of see this here. So I tend to use 2. I had to do this on the last pan, so I used 2. And by the way, what I cook for breakfast is part of a regimen that I have to make. I don't like food that's in pieces. I like to have like a casserole where everything is in there in one lump. Going to be that way anyway when I eventually get to eat it. So I've chopped up some sausage, and the way I do my sausage here is what I like to do is cut it up into small pieces, and instead of using a whole sausage, that'll be about the equivalent of half of a sausage, what I just put in the pan. And I do that because I don't really care that much about eating a big piece of sausage for breakfast or 2 or 3 links or that sort of thing. What I'm looking for is the flavor. And that's what I do here. I cut it up into little tiny bits, and I cut them all up at once, so I have them available. And right now I'm running on number 8 heat. Seems to be quite warm for the pan, but look at this stuff's just sliding around in here. There's no grabbing the bottom of the pan. So Gary will be watching this. He's not here today. So now I'm just warming up that sausage because it's been pre-cooked. And I like onion in my breakfast, so I have some chopped up onion here. We have one of those onion choppers that comes when you buy onions, Vidalia onions. They have these onion choppers, and man, they are so slick. You put the onion in there and it's very evenly chopped. And you know, the more evenly cooked food is, is cut, the better it cooks, because you can time the cooking and it affects all the food at the same time, the same way. So right now we're working here. We've got the eggs and the sausage and whatever else. And there's one other thing I like. I like a little corn or some veggies in this meal. So this came out of the can, so don't get excited. The fact that it came out of the can, the fructose that's in the can and the kind of sweetener that corn has in it isn't going to bother you. I actually have lost about 22 pounds eating this way over the, and I don't eat a small portion. I have a heaping portion in the bowl of food that I have for breakfast. So now I have, and I cook my rice in advance also. Don't you just love it? I take a little Sunday morning and I cook all this stuff up and I save it for the week. And then, so now what I want is I want my rice. I love rice, by the way. It's a great staple. It'll keep for a long period of time. And even when you cook it in advance, some of my Chinese friends in California always wanted to have fresh rice every day. For me, I don't care, because I'm seasoning the rice anyway with what I've got. So here we are now. We've got all the rice and the eggs and the sausage and the onions are all mixed up in here. And it's just, what I'm really just doing now is just warming up the rice. And the funny thing about this is when I refrigerate the rice in that container, it gets a little hard. And once I put it back in here to heat up with the rest of the food, it just softens right up again, and it's like when I originally made it, almost. So here we are. And I'm going to add a little, I like garlic powder. So I'm taking a little garlic powder here that I'm going to add into the breakfast. I have to say, the first time I made this was all vegetable. I have another breakfast that we're going to video, which is, oh, I better turn this off because I don't need the heat anymore. Electric stoves, by the way, stay hot for a period of time. And because they stay hot, I always turn them off before I'm through cooking, because it'll still continue to cook as long as the burner is hot. And that's not my idea. I learned that years ago when I lived in Queens, and I can remember they would talk about this on cooking shows then. So this is it, and breakfast is done. And what I'm going to do now, I should have done this before, is get a plate. All right, so I disappeared off screen for a minute. But as you can see, during the entire cooking process, the stuff just slides around in the plate. It isn't anything like the Teflon pans that I've used. Even when I put liquid, look at this, it just slides around in there. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to slide some of this into my bowl here. This will be breakfast. And as you can see, it's a, and this, the rest of this is what my wife will eat. By the way, my wife has lost somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 or 50 pounds over the last year. Not because she's eating the way I eat, but just because she decided to eat differently. And you can see this pan, I can take this pan right now. I'm going to just, you can just look. There it is, clean as a whistle. So I guess the proof is in the pudding. And this pan that Gary bought, even though you have to use softer utensils, you can't use metal utensils, it's worth every penny that he paid, as long as it lasts. a long time, it's so easy to clean on and to work on. So anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy my my breakfast, and as you can see, this is some tasty stuff. That's it for today's breakfast meal, and the next one we're going to do is going to be an all-vegetarian breakfast.